And welcome back to Headliners. I'm still Simon Evans, and I'm still joined by the comedic duo of Leo Kuss and Nick Dixon. So let's crack on. Tuesday's Guardian, Leo, a new book is remembering that people weren't always quite so glad to be gay.
Yeah, that's right. So there used to be conversion therapy and for gay people in the UK, and this book's about that. It covers the period from the 1950s to the 1970s when gay conversion therapy was commonplace. Protesters are now calling for a total ban on the practice.
Is it not illegal
in the UK? I'm not sure. I'm not sure, to be honest. There was a bill going through to ban conversion therapy, but I think it got nudged out of the way because it covered gay and trans conversion therapy.
Yes.
And gay conversion therapy is horrific. It's, you apply electrodes to people and force them to watch heterosexual pornography, which, if anything, is just going to give them an extra kink. Yeah. So, it's counterproductive. It doesn't work. It's a horrific practice, leads to, mental health issues.
There were, to be fair, not to be fair against it, but there were a whole raft of horrific psychological treatments in the 50s. And I mean, it's like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and stuff, lobotomies.
Oh, yeah, we've progressed a lot since then. But the reason the conversion therapy ban didn't go through, as I understand it, I might be wrong in this, is that the transgender conversion therapy ban would have banned any sort of talking therapy, discussions with a psychologist or counsellor that didn't affirm the person's transgender and, discussed any... Because obviously a lot of people, a lot of teenagers, young people, they have gender confusion because puberty is a confusing time and they're young. So in a sense... So actually surgically transitioning them isn't always the optimum result. And we're seeing a lot of people detransitioning and regretting having, hysterectomies. And
would it be fair to say then they're sort of co-opting or appropriating the term conversion therapy to apply it to something that isn't really comparable to what was going on in the 50s and 60s for gay men? It was, which was... But as I understand it, these were mostly practices that men themselves would seek out in the deluded hope and the rather sad hope in hindsight, but perhaps understandable at a time when to be gay was taboo and was... I'm
not sure that's totally true, because I know Lou Reed was subjected to to electric shock therapy, and that was I think it was his family. Yeah. So I mean, obviously, if you got a young teenage kid, the kid's not going to be contacting psychologists or psychiatrists.
Just one of the stories I saw in there, a man, he's in his 70s now, saying that he had done this at the time and it was horrific, and he just thought it was crazy at the time. But, I don't know.
Well, look, I'm against gay conversion therapy. Tried it on Andrew Doyle, didn't work. And I actually happened to watch The Imitation Game again the other day, and you see the horrific treatment of Alan Turing, this genius war hero, and they tried to chemically castrate him. Well, they did. They said you've got a choice between that and jail, whatever it was. But so it's horrific. Obviously a horrific practice. But as Leo's hinted at here, it's different. The Guardian is trying to use this to bring in change, I feel anyway, around transgender children. So that's the danger, that they're saying, it's the same, that we shouldn't try and convert them, when it actually might just be a case of speaking to someone about your gender dysphoria or confusion. Yeah. And so that's the danger here.
Just saying wait for a little while until you've worked through puberty or whatever.
Yeah, it could be that. And you could even go further if you wanted and say, is there any actual problem with the gay version of that? If let's say someone's a Christian and they want to do a kind of gentle, pastoral talking about it, would you necessarily have to ban that? We're not talking about electroshock therapy. No. We're just throwing that out there as well. I don't know.
No, I think it's fair. In a way, you might easily say that the surgical solution is closer to conversion therapy than the talking cure, right?
Absolutely, and that's what we're seeing. I mean, that's part of the reason the Tavistock Centre, the child gender clinic in London, was shut down, because they were sort of railroading children and teenagers into this process of affirming their gender, which really, they'd be confused and they wouldn't be able to get off the tracks once they're on it, and then they'd end up being chemically and surgically transitioned.
Horrific.